Okay, we're gonna start this thing off, Mr. Anthony.
Yeah. All right. So we kicked off with Bianca Belair facing off against Iyo Sky for a Raw Women's Championship. But I'd like to say that as of this week, those two are off to SmackDown.
Ooh.
Which is interesting because, and I wrote the same thing down that given what I thought was a very, very good match, I'm actually quite a bit of a fan of that Iyo Sky, and I think the quicker she breaks away from damage control and maybe has her own program, I can see these two continuing on SmackDown, maybe leading to, well, maybe not the next pay per view, but who knows? But I actually didn't mind the match at all. I like the fact Iyo Sky came out on her own initially, and I thought that was really, really good. But and I thought it was like a solid opening bout, Mick, to sort of set the pace of the night. But what were your thoughts?
Um, no surprises. Belair went over. I don't think EO is going to grab the title belt and run with it yet.
Hmm.
Um, but a solid match as an opener. Yeah. I didn't see much of it, but the bits and pieces and the highlights I saw of it, it looked clean and it looked pretty crisp. Didn't look like there was too many blunders in between the match, and it got the crowd into it.
Yeah,
It was a especially from EO Sky, which is her whole thing is she's very aerial, very quick, so that sort of always gets the crowd off their feet, off their seats and standing up and cheering. So it was good for that way. And she's a small girl, and Bianca Belair could throw her around quite comfortably.
yeah. I think, and Anthony's our resident expert on the ladies' matches, but I thought it was a slow, sort of methodical start. Anthony move, counter move, but interestingly enough, and I don't know why I was a wee bit surprised, but Iyo certainly had the crowd behind her, even though she's technically a heel. But yeah, they seem to be sort of, to use an American term, rooting for Iyo Sky.
But just on that, I think people are getting sick of Bianca Belair. What do you
I've
reckon,
got to be
Anthony?
honest with you, and I've said it a few times, Mick, in our podcast. I've never been a fan. I don't know what it is. I just can't get into her. She, so to speak, she is. I don't know. Is she a bit too cocky or a bit too maybe arrogant, or she's not overly humble? Not that you can accuse
No,
her.
but most of that character isn't going
Yeah.
to be humble. They're not that. That's not the
No.
style of character she does. But I think that, you know, and you know this yourself. Some characters and some wrestlers are better chasers than they are holders. You
Yeah.
know, and I think she's held the belt probably too long, and now people are getting a little bit over the whole. Well, she's just whipping everyone.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's the fact of that, just hold it for too long and that people are over it.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that, it's time for her to drop, maybe take five for 4 or 5 or 6 months, and then go back after it again. Drop it to a fairly strong heel, and then work a short program, then go off, do her own thing with against other heels, build back up again, then go for another chase. I think she's a spoiled fruit now, where she's been sitting there for too long, in the fruit bowl. It's gone off a bit. So I think it's time to, move forward with that.
Well, I mean, we'll get into it a little bit later on, but obviously now we know that Ripley and Belair will be swapping the title, so she'll still have a title as of this week.
Yeah, like I said, it's probably time for her, and we'll talk more about booking later on, but I think it's more now towards booking to say, okay, it's probably time for her to drop the belt. It's probably time for her now to look like to lose this belt, and how do they work out for her to lose it, in a positive way.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is that she probably should. Mania should have been where she dropped it.
Yeah, probably a lot of things at Mania should have happened.
Yeah.
A lot of things should happen, and Mania once again just poor booking all around.
Oh, yeah. Well, the
You
first
know,
night wasn't bad.
yeah, but you know, it's all right to say first night wasn't bad, but the main storylines that they needed to hit, they didn't hit. And
Yeah.
that's where we're in now to Backlash, trying to, back up storylines that have not gone any further forward. And WrestleMania should be traditionally the place where you finish most of your storylines off.
Yeah, it's very true.
Backlash should be the one we starting storylines for SummerSlam. So, it's not really happening now. They're sort of like just, trying to band-aid what they did wrong in WrestleMania.
It's the fact of that, and we were just talking about this before, it was the fact of that she's held the belt for what? 300.
I can tell you, because I did actually write this down, and she has held the belt for, I've just lost it, but I did actually have it here. But since WrestleMania of last year, so it's over a year. So 365. She
380 days.
Must be coming close to 400 days. I thought I actually had it written down, but I can't see it.
Which it means
390, 400, yeah.
Since WrestleMania last year.
Which it means she becomes the longest reigning women's champion of the modern era.
That's what it is.
I don't understand this whole thing. They keep talking about it. What's the thing about holding belts for such a long period of time?
Oh, no, they've got this thing about it now. And when we get later on, I mean, you're talking, and I've written this one down, but, Roman Reigns is 979 days. They're obviously looking to get him to the 1,000, but Pedro Morales, interestingly enough, held it for 1,027 days.
Yeah.
So they're going to look at overtaking him, which I think would be a shame.
Yeah, but once again, when was the WWF their most boring? When the champions held belts out so many days. The whole idea is to move that belt on and keep it going around. Like, the NWA, they never had title reigns that long. I mean, it's an outrageous setup. It really is.
And particularly when you get someone like a Roman Reigns who hardly ever defends it.
Yeah. And even when we say, Flair held it for a long time, or Harley Race, they drop it for a day or a week or something in between their title reigns and pick it back up again.
Yeah,
there was something happening.
They'd drop it to Barber or someone.
Yeah, there was I think, was it Race that dropped it here to Ron Miller or someone for a week unofficially?
Unofficially, yeah. I think it might have been Ron.
Yeah, but it was a drop. So this is what I don't understand about this whole holding on to a belt for 1,000 days. As far as a fan of wrestling, you get bored seeing the same guy just going over again and again and again. At some point, you say, well, when's this bastard going to lose?
Yeah.
And I think that's the problem. I think they're missing that. They're trying to go for all these records, and people are now thinking, well, why in the fuck watch Roman Reigns? He's just going to win anyway. They're giving it away. Imagine if Roman dropped it that night to Sammy, right? Just for argument's sake. He dropped it that night in Montreal to Sammy, right? And then picked it back up at WrestleMania.
What that would have been absolutely mammoth. I think the heat they would have got.
Yeah, and they would have dropped the run. People would have said, Roman's not unbeatable. And you would have got another 2 or 3 years out of Roman. It's just fucking, once again, poor fucking world booking. Short-sighted and poor constantly with WWE. It does my head in.
But your thoughts overall, Anthony, on the Belair Iyo Sky match?
I thought it was interesting that they kicked the show off with it.
No, I don't think so. I think it was a good match.
I don't know. Yeah, not bad. Just I didn't mind it personally, but
I mean, no, the match was great, and actually, it was, as you mentioned before, it was weird that Iyo was almost depicted as a face in that.
Well, the crowd certainly warmed to her, but I think Mike's point is probably more on the point. I think people are just, whether they never bought into it or they're just a bit over her, but a bit over Belair. But
Belair's almost getting go away heat than what she is now getting go. Than just heel heat or anything. Like, she's getting like, we are sick of your head. So it's I think it's starting to get that way. So I think that whoever's booking out there needs to have a look at it. Say, well, is it time to drop the belt? Is it time to drop it off to someone, and have her chase it shortly, then put her back in the line a bit and have her run through a couple of heels and, and then bring her back through again? Because I think she's recyclable. Belair.
Oh, yeah.
She's recyclable. She's a great athlete, great look, that kind of thing. But some people are not great at holding the belt.
Look, I'll give
Dusty
it.
Rhodes was one that wasn't great for
Yeah,
holding the belt long periods of time and stuff like that,
yeah.
So yeah.
No, I think, look, I agree with you 100%. Brilliant athlete, strong, um, you know, legitimately could take on people like Rhea Ripley and that Gonzalez, could match the strength and the whole bit and all the rest of it. But yeah, I don't know. It's just, yeah. I think it was another lost opportunity.
Yeah, look, WWE has been full of lost opportunities since
Yeah.
WrestleMania, in all
But
honesty.
But I must admit, I really liked the actual match. I thought the match itself, take all the other bullshit out, I thought the match was really, really good. I actually, and I might be getting old and, whatever, but I gave it an 8.
Oh, look, I honestly can't. I only saw the highlights because I got
Okay.
in late, so I can't give it an honest
Mm.
rating. But to be honest with you, Iyo Sky is a great worker.
Oh, yeah.
Comes through the Japanese system, right? And Bianca Belair is a great worker, and I'd imagine the match would have been really, really good, and probably the right person went over, in that point, because I don't think that Iyo Sky's at that point yet to drop the belt to, but nothing would hurt if you dropped it on one night,
Yeah,
I mean, it just changed things up for fuck's sake. It's just, yeah.
I must admit there was one move Anthony probably would have noticed it, I would imagine, being the connoisseur that he is. But Belair gets Iyo Sky up and sits her on her shoulders for the power bomb. And she sat her up there for what seemed like about 30 seconds. And all of a sudden I'm sitting there thinking, I think I feel like some pie. Oh, I tell you. But look, I really hope they give Sky a bit of a push. I really do. And I think Oscar's gone to SmackDown, has she?
Yes. Yes,
So
she's
that
over
could
there
be
now.
interesting because also another very, very popular one who could easily take the belt again.
Yeah, well, she'd be a good person to
I
take the
like her.
belt. Yeah, I think so too. I think she'd be, and she, definitely worthy. Even EA Sky, just work it right, make it happen, or have a surprise change. Like just have it that it just happens.
And just a little side note for Damage Control, Dakota Kai, of course, the Kiwi, turned 35 today.
She's 35.
It was her birthday. Yes, 35.
Wow, I would never picked her being 35.
No, that's what most people said.
Yeah, all right. I thought you might have been in her 20s, but then again, I mean, it's a long road for us from down under countries to make it up there. So unless you get an early start at it and you get out there early, you probably don't make it until you're in your late 20s.
Well, I think it's absolutely brilliant. We had a Kiwi and 2 Aussies on the card tonight. Yeah. There's more, going in like that. Grayson Waller, I think he'll do massive things on SmackDown.
Yeah.
So there's a few,
down under people coming through.
Yeah, I think it's good. I think it's fantastic. Interestingly enough, tonight the 2 that on the card were both from South Australia.
And I don't know, but I know that Rhea's out of Riot, which was owned by Jag and Havoc. I definitely know Havoc, right?
Yeah, not sure
about Bronson Reed, but he could be from the same thing too. So they've produced a couple of good people now, that come through.
And we've got a couple. Who's the Melbourne one? Jeez.
Emma, and you've got Buddy Murphy. You talking about?
Yeah, but no, But I was just on the other night, and they were introducing from Melbourne, Australia. I've gone totally blank. Okay. Anyway, it'll come to me. But there's a few. It's good. Indy Hartwell, isn't it?
Indy Hartwell. Yeah, I don't know I can't pick where she come from.
No, I'm sure they've said Melbourne, out Moroney way or something.
Well, then she would have been PCW, someone
like
that.
I think so.
Yeah.
Anyway, what do you give this match out of 10, Anthony?
I gave it a 5.
Ooh, you're harsh. All right.